For 50 years, Hugh Nguyen carried a silence no child should ever be asked to bear. He learned to grow without a hand to steady him, to speak without a voice calling him son, to live without knowing the man whose blood shaped his face, his eyes, his very existence. He survived war, exile, ridicule, and the brutal loneliness of being born between two countries that claimed him as neither. And yet, in all those years, even when the world called his father dead, Hugh held on to a sliver of something fragile, almost forgotten, the hope that one day he would not be a child lost in the dust, but a son finally found. The boy with no place to belong. Before he knew what war meant, before he understood the word father, Hugh understood one thing: he was different. In Saigon, the world did not whisper it gently, it shouted it at him. Amerasian. It was a label sharpened into a weapon. Kids with darker hair and darker eyes looked at him as if he were evidence of a betrayal, a wound left behind by foreign boots and departing soldiers. He had lighter skin, light eyes, and features that belonged to neither side. They chased him, mocked him, cornered him with words that stuck deeper than fists. He would later say he got used to it, but a child never truly gets used to that kind of exile. His mother was young, too young to carry the burden alone, so she didn't. She handed Hugh and his little sister Linda to their grandparents, two small children born of two American soldiers, two fathers who vanished into history and rumor. That household of women and unanswered questions became their fortress, their shelter, their thin shield against a nation unraveling. But Saigon was falling. April 1975 was not just a date on a calendar, it was chaos in the streets, helicopters beating the sky, families torn between the terror of staying and the terror of leaving. Hugh was 7, Linda only 2. Their grandparents, trembling with guilt and love, sent them to an orphanage first, hoping for Operation Baby Lift. Maybe a plane, maybe America, maybe a life where no child would spit a slur at them. But regret overtook courage, and they took the children back. On the final day, crowded shoulder to shoulder, the siblings, their aunts and grandparents, clung to hope aboard a helicopter, then onto the USS Midway, joining over 3,000 souls escaping a nation collapsing behind them. His mother stayed in Vietnam. America, the land that held his father's blood, greeted him with the same cruelty he thought he'd left behind. Children in California hurled fists and curses, not at who he was, but what he represented. Too American for Saigon, too Vietnamese for America. A boy suspended in between, belonging nowhere at all. But somewhere inside the ache, a question grew louder with age. Who was he without the man who should have been there? Who might he have been if someone had shown up to his basketball games, clapped from the bleachers, or whispered steady words before he said, "I do"? For 40 years, those questions echoed without reply. The world told him his father died in battle. His mother told him there had been a soldier. But stories, like wounds, sometimes hide their truth. And the truth waiting for Hugh was one that would rewrite 5 decades of longing. The name that was never spoken. By 2015, Hugh had learned to smile. He was an elected official, a husband, a father, a man who built a life despite never knowing the man who built half of him. But even success cannot quiet certain ghosts. So he did what children of disappearance eventually do. He searched. The only clues were a photograph and a memory told in fragments. His father was a serviceman stationed in Vietnam, a single night in Nha Trang, a farewell, a mine, a death, end of story. Except endings are not always endings. Some are detours disguised as grief. With a mixture of fear and desperation, Hugh submitted his DNA, sent it across oceans and timelines, and waited. When the results arrived, the impossible surfaced. 99.9995% certainty. A name, a living name, not lost, not dead, not gone with the war, but breathing. His father was alive, Roy Patterson, Tennessee, 70 years old, a life built, a wife, 4 children, grandchildren, a man who once played high school basketball, who scored points, who ran the court just as his son later would, though neither knew the other existed beyond a pulsing gene memory. When Roy received the call, he laughed at the absurdity at first. A son? In Vietnam? Impossible. Until he heard the year, December 1967, Nha Trang, and then the world paused. He remembered a young Vietnamese woman arriving at the base after he had returned home, a woman who learned from fellow soldiers that he had died, a lie delivered casually, a moment that splintered a child's life before he was even born. Roy's voice broke when he said he wished he had known, because knowing might have meant showing up, holding, guiding, being. And so Roy boarded a plane, not because of obligation, but because something deeper than time called to him. When they met, cameras surrounded them, news crews, microphones, flashbulbs, yet in that instant, there were only two men, a father with 40 years of unspoken apologies and a son with 50 years of unanswered prayers. Hugh held the DNA letter, the document that fixed his life to truth, and smiled. "This is official. Now you're stuck with me." Roy laughed, the kind of laugh that comes not from humor, but from relief, from the realization that life had given him back a chapter he never knew he'd written. The man who finally arrived. The next day, Roy Patterson walked the halls where his son now held authority. The old county courthouse stood quiet, dignified, unaware of the half-century journey that led father and son to its doors. Hugh introduced him not as a guest, not as a stranger, but simply as his father. On the lawn outside, beneath an Orange County sky, a family gathered. Patterson's youngest son, Hugh's children, cousins, wives, mothers, the generations that stretched between their two worlds. They stood together not as a puzzle finally solved, but as a history finally healed. Roy clutched a book given to him, Run for the Wall, a journey to the Vietnam Memorial, its weight symbolic, its pages echoing the journey he never realized he shared with a boy across the world. Hugh looked at him the way sons look at fathers, with recognition, with longing, with the quiet pride reserved only for the men who show up. Later, Roy sat in the back of a wedding room as Hugh's son, dressed in a black robe, officiated a marriage. A father watching a grandson carry love into the world, 3 generations reclaimed in a single room. Roy did not shed tears loudly, but his eyes trembled when Hugh said that word again, father, soft, steady, unbroken. They were planning trips, visits, maybe a January swearing in, maybe Tennessee summers. Hugh would soon take Roy to Little Saigon, to the memorial statues rising bronze and solemn, an American soldier beside a South Vietnamese one. Together, as if carved just for them. 5 decades ago, a mine did not kill Roy Patterson, but the lie did kill something. It killed presence. It killed birthdays and ceremonies and scraped knees and proud sideline claps. And yet life, unreasonable, miraculous life, returned what war once stole. When a child is finally found. Hugh once described himself as a baby lost in the dust of life, not because he lacked love, but because he lacked the shape of belonging that only a father can trace. But dust settles, and when it does, what remains is clearer than before. He survived Saigon's collapse, the sting of exile, the cruelty of children who saw difference before humanity. He survived the ache of knowing half his story was buried under a headstone that never existed. Yet somewhere, in a small Tennessee town, a man woke one morning and learned that time had kept him a secret from the boy who needed him most. 50 years is an eternity when you are waiting to be claimed. But 50 years is a blink when 2 lives finally collide, and without needing any proof beyond a heartbeat and a family resemblance, recognize each other. Not all reunions arrive in the softness of youth. Some come with wrinkles, with adult children, with decades of missed milestones. But the beauty of this reunion is not in what was lost. It is in what was finally, undeniably found. A father, a son. 2 histories once severed by war, now standing side by side. Hugh no longer wonders who might have cheered for him, advised him, blessed his marriage, or held his newborns. Because now, when he looks at Roy, he sees not the man who didn't show up, but the man who finally did. And in that arrival, long past when either expected, there is redemption unbound by time. In the end, every child deserves to be named. Every father deserves a chance to answer. And after 50 years of silence, Hugh Nguyen is no longer a boy lost in the dust. He is simply, finally, a son.